Hello. About a year ago, I went up to Liverpool to see a boat being built that had been very carefully designed by its new owners to take account of their specific physical needs, both now and into the future. Tina had had a stroke and was walking with a stick, and Peter had had a heart attack, so they needed a boat that really made life as easy as possible for them, and there were various design aspects of it that we went through at the time. But I ended the video by saying it wouldn't be a bad idea to come back in a year or so and see how they're getting on. So I have.
And this is that boat, a 57-foot-long semi-cruiser stern narrowboat built by Rob Weston. It's called Nautilus and Enterprise because the owners liked both names. Everything aboard, including the propulsion, runs on electricity, partly generated by the 1500-watt array of rooftop solar, but also a backup diesel generator. There's no propane aboard, specifically so Tina and Peter don't have to lift heavy gas cylinders, so the cooking is electric, as is the toilet, which we'll come to. They've had the boat for 18 months and given it a good run from Crick in Northamptonshire all the way down to Bristol and back, so they've had a chance to evaluate the motor's performance in terms of the electrical efficiency. That motor is a 15 kilowatt unit from Bell Marine.
It worked out pretty well, actually. We and the other hybrids that are in existence these days seem to have come to a good sweet spot, which is about 1600 watts and cruising at about 2 miles an hour. And that works for weeks and weeks and weeks. We'll generate a bit of power. We use the solar for even more power, but mostly we buy power occasionally at boatyards and marinas. So we bring ahead, book a spot. The electric pontoons on the Thames are superb. They're run by the Environment Agency, and they gave us a very good service. About 3 days in between pontoons, and then we do all our cooking, charge all our devices, and our propulsion is all electric. And I think with the battery bank we have, that worked out very well for our whole summer cruise, 3 or 4 months there. I wish there were more places that would sell us electric out there, and I hope there'll be more places in the future that will sell us electric.
Perhaps surprisingly, the boat doesn't use trendy lithium batteries, but instead a bank of lead carbons with a usable 28 kilowatt hours capacity.
That's holding up very well. There are a few issues with the care of them, including what's called cell equalization. And occasionally you should charge to 100%, and you should charge through the absorption to keep the cell lifetime. We found in practice it provides you with lots of energy when you need it. So certain bits of the Thames, certain bits of going up the Kennet, for instance, you need quite a lot of power. There's power when you need it at high levels. Most of the time for long cruises, throttle back, and you use that energy for long multi-day cruises without bursting. I think we would have probably had lithium if the costs were right in the year we built our boat. I've seen some of the hybrids now coming out with lithium out of the box. That's fine, the costs have come down slightly. In the future, lithium will be more and more attractive, and lead will be an old technology. It's heavy. We have literally a ton of lead on this boat. When that reaches end of life and be taken out, it'll probably be replaced by a few tens of kilograms of lithium, and we'll find some tiny space somewhere in the boat to store that. It'll all be fine. It was the right decision for us at the time. It's not right for everyone.
In the galley, mobility restrictions meant lifting or bending was an issue that had to be addressed, so the oven and grill are at head height, and the fridge freezer was slightly raised off the floor. Induction cooking means no fumes or condensation from a burning flame, and no need for a gas safety certificate.
We use the electric hob a lot. I would say that probably we've got a double oven, and the top oven, the smaller oven, is a grill also. And actually we use that mostly during the time. At all, we didn't. I think once we used the lower oven. I'm now thinking to myself, did we make the right choices in that? But actually, if I want to cook a full roast dinner, I've still got all the facilities to do that. So cooking electric, different to gas, which we'd had previously, but I've rapidly got used to it. And induction is very much more responsive than I thought it would be. I hadn't really ever done that before having the boat.
I think one time Tina we had quite a few guests, and Tina did the complete roast dinner. So we had 2 ovens, the grill, the hob going, and the microwave for some gravy or something like that. And there was me nervously watching the dials as it was edging past 8 kilowatts. But it handled it.
Nervously watching, you obsessively watched the
yes,
electric
I do admit
consumption.
to obsessively watching the colour display to see what the electrics is doing. All part of the fun of an electric boat.
But perhaps it's the toilet department, a subject so beloved of boat owners, that has the most unusual technology. An incinerating toilet, electric of course. You do your business in it, and it cremates that into ash. They use a lot of power, so was this really sensible?
Well, the toilet situation was a little bit variable. We started off, it was working. We then foolishly brushed against a tree by Shifford Lock and lost the cowls of the toilet. But happily, the agents down at Aldermaston provided us with a replacement one in good time. So, we continued to use it, and a kilowatt hour of energy disappears every time we use it. But what the wonderful agents at Aldermaston did when looking at it was said, you could actually improve the installation for that quite simply, and we did. And it had been using 1.5 to 2 kilowatt hours. That went down. We almost halved that simply by installing it in a better way. And being agents, they knew all the little tricks about exactly how you installed it. And we got the toilet service there, and a lot of useful advice and how to read the manual properly and what the manual actually means. So it was very good that we'd happened to be passing there on the K&A and talked to the very useful agents. Really helped.
But we don't use the incinerator toilet exclusively. When we had the boat delivered, we didn't actually have the generator at that time fitted, so we had to buy a porta potty. And for those of you that understand all the physics more perhaps than I do, the incinerating of fluids actually takes up a tremendous amount of electricity, more so than the incineration of solids. And because we had room in the bathroom for the porta potty as well as the incinerator toilet, we sort of use it in a separator toilet type of way, in that we use the porta potty for liquids and the incinerator for solids, and that works really well for us. As I say, we have sufficient room in there. Our original goal for having the incinerator toilet was actually for us not to do such heavy lifting, and we wanted to avoid that. But actually, using the porta potty for fluids only means that we can quite easily dispose of fluids, much more easily than a mixed variety. So, say the mixed porta potty, urinal, and the incinerator sort of worked for us, really, hasn't it?
And that really helped when we were going through Devizes. We'd found that the facility there had been vandalised. I don't know why, but someone vandalised it. So we had to be rather careful. Well, okay, how can you dispose of that? Well, the ash from the incinerator, it's quite legal to put it into any litter bin. There's no special handling required. So even though the Elsan had been vandalised, we were okay.
Another unconventional choice was the bed, which lifts in 2 halves like Tower Bridge opening or closing. At the time of my original filming, this had not been installed, so it's a pleasure to see it in action, which again was for reasons of practicality.
The benefits of having the lifting bed as opposed to a fixed bed is that we can easily get to the storage underneath. We can have one side down and still be able to pass, so someone can have a rest and we can still be able to walk through the boat. When we are actually on the move, we can easily get forward and backwards. I mean, if we had to deploy the anchor during our trip, one wouldn't have wanted to have gone down the side of the boat or anything. So I think having the bed the way we have really, really works for us.
Yes, the anchor's a particularly important point. We got the recommended size of anchor for the use on the Thames. So we had it pre-rigged, and the rope was tied to the post, so it's all ready to go at a moment's notice. If we'd had to rush to the front and lift it out, everything was right there.
By and large, it seems the boat has been a success, with both Tina and Peter happily able to spend plenty of time aboard without any issues, whether in navigation or living. But 18 months on, there must have been some aspects they might alter or improve.
We hadn't understood to what extent the generator needs cooling on a narrowboat, and that we're going to have some remedial work done this year. We understand now, having done a long cruise, what needs to be done, and we're going to have that done. There are also a lot of other minor aspects we're going to have done, and one of the things I'd think about a retirement project for an electric boat is it generates an endless source of engineering issues to be addressed. So for someone who's particularly gone into electric boating for that reason, that's quite satisfying.
So you're pleased with any hiccups?
Oh, I think so. Minor hiccups, please.
But we have learnt some things along the way. I mean, we probably oversized the inverter that we've got, didn't we? And probably oversized the generator, really, because when we added up all the electrical things that we thought we were going to use and things, we thought, well, we need this particular size of generator to manage that. But actually, I think, what we've learned is that actually we don't have everything all going all at the same time, and actually a smaller generator may have had less of a cooling issue. So we've learnt things along the way.
Yeah.
We're not going to change what we've got, but if we were ever to build another boat, which we won't, we've learnt things that would make a difference. And when we speak to other people about what they think they might want, if you know what I mean, others can learn from some of those things that weren't necessarily mistakes but learning.
And I look at the specs for the new hybrids being built this year, and they are using slightly different power levels. I think that the information has been exchanged, been learnt. Also, the speed people cruise at and the power people cruise at are coming down. So if you're going to be more efficient and you're going to achieve some green goals with narrowboating, it's getting more life and more fun out of less energy. I'd thought going into this year we'd be cruising at about 2 kilowatts on long cruises. I and others people have found cruising at 1600 watts is a little bit better. You get more for the same battery level. You don't need such big equipment. And into the future, as people are going to start building optimised boats in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, in larger quantity, bringing the costs down, and I hope everyone will be bringing the costs down, knowing what those power levels are and being able to get a lot more fun out of less power is pretty much where it's at.
Many more happy years of boating beckon for this couple, and even if they've got no plans to build another, their expertise is kindly given to other boaters embarking on the same voyage of discovery and design. I hope this was an interesting update, and thanks for watching. Cheerio.